Let's look at the absolute absurdity of how the medical industrial complex tries to measure your expiration date. The insurance companies and their lackeys in standard white coats love a good static number. They want to pigeonhole you into a fixed category so they can calculate exactly when you'll start needing their expensive lifelong subscription of symptom masking drugs. For a long time, biological age testing fell right into this trap, but trying to figure out how fast you are rotting by looking at a single number is like trying to judge a drag race by staring at the odometer. You don't just need to know how many miles are on the chassis, you need to know how hard the idiot behind the wheel is slamming on the gas pedal right now. To understand the differences between the major biological clocks, you have to understand that they weren't all built to look for the same things. They evolved in generations, moving away from simple chronological matching and closer to actual systemic decay. When you order an epigenetic test, you aren't getting a unified consensus, you are getting different mathematical algorithms looking at completely different cellular crime scenes. The Horvath clock was the pioneer, the first generation blueprint developed by Steve Horvath in 2013. It was an incredible mathematical feat, but it had a massive logical flaw. It was trained to predict your chronological age. The algorithm looked at 353 specific methylation sites across various tissues to guess what your birth certificate says. The problem? If you are a highly inflamed, pre-diabetic 50-year-old who happens to have the methylation pattern of an average 50-year-old, the Horvath clock thinks you're doing fantastic. It measures the genetic baseline of the average population, and the average population is exhausted, overweight, and biochemically falling apart. It's an odometer that tells you how far the car has traveled, but it tells you nothing about the smoke pouring out of the engine. Realizing that matching your birth certificate was a useless goal for true longevity, researchers developed second-generation clocks like PhenoAge. Instead of training the algorithm on chronological age, Morgan Levine and her team trained it on a composite of 9 clinical blood biomarkers, things like albumin, creatinine, glucose, and C-reactive protein. Suddenly, the clock wasn't guessing how many birthdays you've had. It was predicting your phenotypic age based on actual organ function and systemic inflammation. PhenoAge is a massive upgrade because it correlates heavily with physical function and actual health span. It's a distinct look at your current physical baseline, showing you the exact toll your habits are taking on your biochemistry. If PhenoAge is a comprehensive wellness check, GrimAge is the Grim Reaper's ledger. Also, a second-generation clock, GrimAge was specifically engineered to do one terrifyingly efficient thing: predict all-cause mortality and time to death. It doesn't care about your birthdays. It trains its machine learning on plasma proteins strongly linked to severe disease alongside smoking history proxies hidden in your methylation patterns. GrimAge is arguably the strongest predictor of actual mortality risk out there. If your GrimAge is highly accelerated, your cells are actively preparing for an early exit, making it an invaluable tool for getting a raw, unfiltered look at your true biological runway. Then we have DunedinPACE, which represents the third generation of epigenetic metrics. Developed from the famous longitudinal Dunedin study, this algorithm threw out the entire concept of giving you a static age number. Instead, it functions exclusively as a speedometer. It measures your rate of aging right now. A score of 1.0 means you are accumulating exactly 1 year of biological damage for every calendar year. A 0.8 means you're aging 20% slower. A 1.2 means you are fast-tracking your way to the nursing home. Because it was trained on tracking with in-person changes over decades rather than cross-sectional snapshots, DunedinPACE is uniquely sensitive to short-term lifestyle interventions. If you change your diet, fix your sleep, or add a progressive exercise routine, DunedinPACE can reflect that optimization in a matter of months, whereas static clocks might take years to shift. To make any of these clocks move backward, you have to stop chasing a single algorithm and start treating the root causes of cellular decline through the 5 M's framework. The first 2 pillars, microvascular health, the microscopic capillary networks supplying oxygen to your organs, and mitochondrial efficiency, your cellular power plants, form the basic engine of aging. When your microcirculation fails, or your mitochondria begin leaking massive oxidative stress, the resulting cellular distress signals are stamped onto your DNA as methylation typos. The GrimAge clock is notoriously sensitive to these vascular and mitochondrial breakdown products, flagging them as high mortality risks long before a conventional doctor catches them on a basic lab panel. The next 2 pillars, metabolic balance, your day-to-day glucose, insulin, hormonal, and inflammatory equilibrium, and metabolic reserve, your physiological buffer, dictated by muscle mass and organ resilience, are heavily captured by PhenoAge. When you lose your metabolic reserve and let your fasting insulin spike, you trigger systemic glycation and tissue damage. PhenoAge registers this structural decline instantly because its very algorithm was trained on the metabolic and inflammatory biomarkers of decay. Finally, membrane health, the integrity of the lipid bilayers surrounding every single cell, is the ultimate gatekeeper. Brittle, inflamed cell membranes clogged with industrial seed oils disrupt cellular signaling, and accelerate the rate at which your biological clock ticks. Because membrane health directly dictates how cleanly your cells communicate, optimizing it with high-dose unoxidized omega-3s sends a profound stabilizing signal across your entire epigenome. This stabilization slows down your real-time pace of aging, allowing you to watch your DunedinPACE score drop comfortably below the average line while the medical industrial complex wonders why you aren't buying their prescriptions. If you'd like guidance and coaching to optimize your 5M's overall health and health span, reach out to us to schedule a consultation. Telehealth available. We use nutrition, peptides, hormones, exercise, and a variety of progressive therapies to help you lower your biological age. Call 9418-065511 or email us at info@rtc.health.